Hello students and welcome to the lecture. So students, as we know that we are covering the Panchayati Raj, okay? And these are the topics we have scheduled for the discussion under this particular series, like starting with the introduction part, thereafter the evolution of the Panchayati Raj, 73rd Amendment Act of 1992, compulsory and the voluntary provisions, PESA Act of 1996, which is also known as Extension Act, finances of the Panchayati Raj, and the reasons for ineffective performance. Okay, we have completed the introduction part, evolution of Panchayati Raj, 73rd Amendment Act of 1992, compulsory and the voluntary provisions, and the PESA Act of 1996, which is also known as Extension Act. Finances of Panchayati Raj and the reasons for ineffective performance is left. Okay, so we will start from here. Okay, in the introduction part, we have also covered the history of Panchayati Raj in India, like how it was existing during the medieval India and how it was vanished during the modern India. Okay, that's the thing. So let's start from where we had left in the previous lecture. This is the finances of the Panchayati Raj. All right. So basically, if we talk about it, so the second Administrative Reform Commission of India, 2005 to 2009, okay, has summarized the sources of revenue of the Panchayati Raj institutions, in short known as the PRIs. So if the question asked in the examination and they are not mentioning the Panchayati Raj institution, instead of this they are only mentioning the PRIs. So keep yourself in the form that you will recognize that it is talking about the Panchayati Raj institutions. In short, PRIs. Okay, and they have financial problems in the following way. First, a major portion of Part 9 of the Constitution deals with structural empowerment of the PRIs, but the real strength in terms of both autonomy and efficiency of these institutions is dependent on their financial positions, including their capacity to generate own resources. In general, panchayats in our country receive funds in the following way. Okay, like first, their autonomy, and second, efficiency of these institutions is dependent on their financial position. Why? Because they are required to operate at the local level. And if they are not financially free, so they won't be able to operate on the local level. So the first is grants from the union government based on the recommendations of the Central Finance Commission, Article 280 of the Constitution. The first way of receiving the help. Second is devolution from the state based on the recommendations of the State Finance Commission as per Article 243 first, like in which taxes the state government provides a share to the panchayats. Thereafter, loans grants from the state government to the panchayats. Okay. Thereafter, the program specific allocation under the centrally sponsored schemes and the additional central assistance. Thereafter, the internal resource generation, tax and non-tax. Okay. So these are the ways through which the panchayat acquires their finances. And if we talk about it, so the major scheme is Manrega. Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. Okay. Let me write down here also. Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Act. Okay. Thereafter, the next point is across the country, the state have not given adequate attention to the fiscal powers of the panchayat. Okay. The panchayat's own resources are meager. Kerala, Karnataka, and Tamil Nadu are the states which are considered to be the progressive and the PRI's empowerment, but even there, the panchayats are heavily dependent on the government grants. One can draw the following broad conclusion. Like what happened, however, it was said that basically the panchayat should be independent in the terms of finance, but still, the state government is not focusing more on empowering the panchayats in the physical matters. Okay, and there are some states like the states of Kerala, Karnataka, and the Tamil Nadu, in which the panchayats position is significantly good. But still, the panchayats are heavily dependent upon the state government grants. Okay, and if we talk about the conclusions draws from this, first is the internal resource generations at the panchayat level is weak. It is partly due to a thin tax domain and partly due to the panchayat's own reluctance in collecting revenue. It means that first, their tax domain is limited. They are not allowed to impose taxes in the more way. Second, they are reluctant in collecting the revenue. Thereafter, panchayats are heavily dependent on grants from the union state governments. Okay, it means that whether the central government supports this, whether the state government supports this, but on their own they are not functioning as they are required. Thereafter, a major portion of the grants, both from the union as well as from the state government, is scheme specific. It means that they not provide on the regular basis, but for the specific scheme period. Once the scheme period or once the scheme over or completed, the funding also stops. Panchayats have limited discretion and flexibility in occurring expenditure. Alright. In view of their own tight fiscal position, the state government not keen to devolve funds to the panchayat. Like the state governments basically try to avoid the taxation and the other revenues to control the inflation part. Due to this, they even by themselves are getting less finance. So they are not so willing to devolve the funds to the panchayat so that their own funds will be decreased constantly. Thereafter, in most of the critical 11 schedule matters like the primary education, like the normal health care, like the water supply, like the sanitation, like the migration, even now it is the state government which is directly responsible for the implementations of these programs and the expenditure. It means that the panchayats on paper basically empowered to run the local self-government. But on the ground level or on the reality, basically the state governments hold the maximum power nowadays also. Overall, a situation has been created where panchayats responsibility but grossly inadequate resources. It means that panchayats having the responsibility but they're not having the adequate resources. So that's why the dependence upon the state government is not getting reduced in any way. Thereafter, though in absolute terms, the quantum of funds of the union and the state governments transferred to the panchayats forms the major components of their receipt. It means that their self-tax imposing and the revenue collecting powers are limited. It means that whatsoever quantum of funds they are getting from the union or the state government is basically forming the major components of its receipt. The PRI's own resource generation is the soul behind its financial standing. Okay. Thereafter, it is not only a question of resources, like whether they having the adequate resources or inadequate resources. It is the existence of a local taxation system which ensures people involvement in the affairs of an elected body. Also makes the institution accountable to its citizens. Like suppose if we talk about the local self-government. So the main aim behind establishing such a government was that they would understand the local issues, local problems, and will provide the solutions for the local things. But as we have discussed, that on paper the local governments are empowered, but still maximum power holded by state governments. Okay, so the maximum rules, regulations, and the legislations which are implementing in the local areas. They are not by the elected body, which elected by the local people, but basically by the state governments through the local self-government. Okay, and that's why the institution which is formed on the local level is not fully accountable to citizen in the true sense. In terms of own resource collections, the Gram Panchayats are comparatively in a better position because they have the tax domain for their own. Okay, while the other two tiers are dependent only on tolls, fees, and the non-tax revenue for generating the internal resources. Gram Panchayats basically collecting the tax from the villagers, so that's why they're having the better approach in the financial terms. But the Block Samiti and the Jila Parishad is totally depend upon the tolls, fees, non-tax revenues for the internal resources, in which the maximum control is of the state governments. So they are not so fully independent in terms of finance. Thereafter, the state Panchayati Raj Acts have given most of the taxation powers to the village panchayat because they are at the most founded level. The revenue domain of the intermediate and the district panchayat, both in terms of tax as well as non-tax, has been kept much smaller and remains confined to the secondary areas like the ferry services, like the markets, like the water, like the conservancy services, like the registration of vehicles, cess on the stamp duty, and few others which are having the limited scopes. Why? Because of the intervention by the state governments in these areas also. Okay. Thereafter, a study of various state legislations indicates that the number of taxes, duties, tolls, and fees comes under the jurisdiction of the village panchayats. This interreliance include the octroi, property, house tax, profession tax, land tax and cess, tax tolls on vehicles, entertainment tax, fees, license fees, tax on non-agricultural land, fee on registration of cattle, sanitation, drainage, conservancy tax, water rate tax, lighting tax, education cess, and the tax on fairs and festival. Okay, so basically you can see the maximum portion has been granted or reserved for the Gram Sabha or village panchayat. All right. Thereafter, now we have the reasons for ineffective performance after finishing the finances. Like we had discussed in finances that the Panchayati Raj is actually powerful on paper but not so powerful on the ground. So what are the reasons for their ineffective performance? Okay. Even after conferring the constitutional status and protection through the 73rd Amendment Act of 1992, And as we have discussed in the previous lecture, like basically we wanted to grant the constitutional status and the protection to the Panchayati Raj so that they could be empowered and provisions could not be changed that easily. Okay, that was the main aim behind providing the constitutional status and protection. But the performance of the Panchayati Raj institutions and the PRIs has not been satisfactory and not up to the expected levels as we expected after providing the constitutional status. The various reasons for this suboptimal performance are as follows. The first, lack of adequate devolution. What does it mean? Many states have not taken the adequate step to devolve their functions, the funds, and the functionaries to the PRIs to enable them to discharge their constitutionally stipulated functions. It means that on paper, basically the provisions are there, but on grounds, the state governments are not willing to take the adequate steps and discharge or devolve the functions, funds, and functionaries to the PRIs so that they could be enabled to discharge their constitutionally stipulated functions, the functions the Constitution provided them to be performed. Further, it is imperative that the PRIs have resources to match the responsibilities entrusted to them. Okay, it means that they have got the responsibilities from the act, but when it's come to the resources, so they having the meager resources, not having the adequate resources to discharge their responsibilities in the full sense. While the SFCs, the state finance commissions, have submitted their recommendations, not many, few states have implemented these or taken steps to ensure the fiscal viability of the PRIs. Okay, thereafter, excessive control is still by the bureaucracy. In some states, the Gram Panchayats have been placed in the position of subordination. Hence, the Gram Panchayat Sarpanch have to expend extraordinary amount of time visiting block offices for funds or technical approval. These interactions with the block staff office distort the role of Sarpanches as the elected representative. Which means that if we talk about the bureaucracy, then they are the state executives. Okay, which generally present in the block level and other areas. So if we talk about the Sarpanch, who is the head of the Gram Panchayats, the Sarpanch is not so powerful figure on the ground. He is required to visit the block offices for the funds for the technical approvals. And the interactions with the block staff office basically distorting or you can say decreasing the role of Sarpanch as the elected representatives. Okay, that's the thing. Thereafter, the tied nature of funds. This has two implications. The activities stated under the certain schemes are not always appropriate for all parts of the district. This results in unsuitable activities being promoted or an underspend of the funds. Like if we talk about the state. So what happened? Like the states already having the shortage in the funds. Okay. And basically whatever schemes they are launched, they are not always appropriate for all parts of the districts. It means they are for the selected part. But they are using the funds for development of panchayats. But as we have discussed that the certain schemes are mainly focused on the some parts of the district, not for the entire district. So basically what is happening here, like some areas are getting benefited, but some areas are being promoted or an underspend of the funds. Okay, that's the thing. Thereafter, overwhelming dependency on the government funding. Okay, a review of money received and own source funds shows the overwhelming dependence of panchayats on the government funding. It means that mostly functions are still retained by the state governments. Okay, so basically, the panchayats having the overwhelming dependence on the government funding. When panchayat do not raise resources and instead receive funds from outside, people are less likely to request a social audit. It means that basically the people are not interested to raise the social audit, means they are not interested in the panchayat functions. Why? Because they know that the panchayats is not having the funds of their own, they are basically depending upon the state government. So that's why they are not demanding more to the panchayat, and the panchayat is not doing more for them. Okay, that's a thing. Now let's move forward. Thereafter, fifth is reluctance to use fiscal powers. It means that the panchayats are not so very interested in using their fiscal powers. An important power devolved to the GP or the Gram Panchayat is the right to levy taxes on the property, businesses, markets, fairs, and also for special services provided, like the street lighting or the public toilets, etc. Very few panchayats use their fiscal powers to levy taxes and collect taxes. The argument pushed by panchayat heads is that it is difficult to levy taxes on your own constituency, especially when you live in the community. Why? Because the person locally responsible to the locals. So that's why the person who is living in the community and he is being the member, or you can say the person who is holding the authority in that particular community or the panchayat of that particular community. So basically they're reluctant in using the fiscal power or imposing the taxes. Thereafter, the status of Gram Sabha. Empowering the Gram Sabha could have been powerful weapon for transparency, accountability, and for involvement of the marginalized sections. However, a number of the state acts have not spelled the powers of Gram Sabha, nor have any procedures being laid down for the functioning of these bodies or penalties for the officials. Okay. Thereafter, point seventh is creation of parallel bodies. Often, parallel bodies are created for supposedly speedy implementation and the greatest accountability. However, there is a little evidence to show that such parallel bodies have avoided the evils, including that of partisan politics, sharing of spoils, corruption, and the elite capture. Missions, in particular, often bypassing the mainstream programs, create disconnection, duality, and alienation between the existing and the new structures and the functions. PBs observe the legitimate space of PRIs and demoralize the PRIs by virtue of their superior resource and events. Okay, it means that the parallel bodies which have been created by the state, they are actually more powerful than the Panchayati Raj which were created by the 73rd Amendment Act or provided with the constitutional status. The poor infrastructure. As large number of Gram Panchayats in the country do not even having the full secretary. Around 25% of the Gram Panchayat do not have the basic office buildings. The database for planning, monitoring, etc. are lacking in most of the cases. Like as I have been saying this again and again, they are powerful and infrastructure equipped on paper only. But in reality, they are having the poor infrastructure and even they are not so much powerful as on the paper. Thereafter, a large number of elected representatives or PRIs are semi-literate or literate and you know little about their roles and responsibilities, programs, procedures, systems, often for want of good, relevant and periodic training. They are not able to perform their functions properly. So that is another reason Although all the district and the intermediate panchayats are connected with computers, only around 20% of Gram Panchayat reported to have been the computing facilities. In some states, village panchayat do not have any computing facilities, so that's why they are having the lacking in the most basic infrastructure in modern times. All right. So this is the articles related to the panchayats at a glance. Article 243 having the definition of it. 243A Gram Sabha. 243B Constitution of Panchayats. 243C Composition of Panchayats. 243D Reservations of seat. Okay. 243 Duration of Panchayats and so on. 243F Disqualification for membership. 243G Powers, authorities and responsibilities of Panchayat. 243H Powers to impose taxes by the funds and the funds of the Panchayat. 243I Constitution of Finance Commission to review the financial position of the Panchayat. Okay. 243J Audit for accounts of Panchayat. 243K Elections to the Panchayats. 243L Application to the Union Territories. 243M Part not to apply to the certain areas. 243N Continuance of existing laws and the Panchayats. 243O Bar to interference by courts in the electoral matters. Thereafter, name of the Panchayati Raj institutions in the state as per the 2019. Andhra Pradesh Gram Panchayats Mandal Parishad Jila Parishad. Arunachal Pradesh Gram Panchayat Anchal Samiti Jila Parishad. Assam Gaon Panchayat Anchalik Panchayat Jila Parishad. Bihar Village Panchayat Panchayat Samiti Jila Parishad. Chhattisgarh Gram Panchayat Janpad Panchayat Jila Parishad. Goa Village Panchayat and the Jila Panchayat. Gujarat Village Panchayat Taluk Panchayat District Panchayat Haryana Gram Panchayat Panchayat Samiti Jila Parishad. Himachal Pradesh Gram Panchayat Panchayat Samiti Jila Parishad. Jharkhand Gram Panchayat Panchayat Samiti Jila Panchayats. Karnataka Gram Panchayat Taluk Panchayat Jila Panchayat. Kerala Village Panchayat Block Panchayat and District Panchayat. Madhya Pradesh Villa Panchayat Block Panchayat District Panchayat. Maharashtra Villa Panchayat Panchayat Samitis and the Jila Parishad. Manipur Gram Panchayat and the Jila Panchayat only. Odisha Gram Panchayat Panchayat Samiti and the Jila Parishad. Punjab Gram Panchayat Panchayat Samiti Jila Parishad. Rajasthan Gram Panchayat Panchayat Samitis Jila Parishad. Sikkim Gram Panchayat Jila Panchayat Rajasthan Villa Panchayat Panchayat Unions and the District Panchayat. Telangana Gram Panchayat Mandal Parishad Jila Parishad. Tripura Gram Panchayat Panchayat Samitis Jila Panchayat. Uttar Pradesh Gram Panchayat Kshetra Panchayat Jila Panchayat. Uttarakhand Gram Panchayat Intermediate Panchayat District Panchayat. West Bengal Gram Panchayat Panchayat Samitis Jila Parishad. Okay, and this is the milestone in the evolution of Panchayati Raj. 1948 to 1949, the Constituent Assembly debates on the role of Panchayati Raj in the Indian polity. 1950, the Constitution of India comes into force on January 26. Tactile principle of state policy mention village panchayats as the union of self-government. Community development program starts on 2nd October 1952. And finally, we know in the 1957, the Balwant Rai Mehta Committee appointed January submitted its report on 24th November and the Panchayat introduced in the country. Okay, so students, basically in this lecture we have completed the Panchayati Raj institution. In the next lecture we will start with some other important topic. Till then, just revise the facts and figures we have discussed in this lecture. Be ready for the another lecture. With this note, let's end this lecture and thank you.